Good morning, everyone. Microphone check, screen check. Looks like everything's working correctly here, although things are in a really weird spot. Hang on. That's not quite right. Let's try this again. Alright. There we go. Alright, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good morning. Mic check, screen check. Looks like everything's working correctly here. Good morning, SSFTG family. I hope you all had a chance to rest up and get ready for the day ahead. As per the usual, make sure to read through the morning prep PDF on the right side of the screen there. Very important to understand everything that is inside there. Just a quick note for you all before we jump on in today as well, if you're watching on the YouTube side. The stream does have between a 5 and 30 second delay, which will definitely impact the timeliness of what I may be talking about at any given moment. All right. All right, give me 2 seconds here. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Welcome, welcome. Good morning. Just want to take a second, like we do every day, to thank all of our new members, subscribers, Academy students, VIPs, and everyone in between. Thank you all so much for the support. I'm super pumped and excited to have you all on board. Welcome to the SSFTG family. If you aren't a member yet, you do have a few different options to check out if you're looking to further your trading education and career. One of the easiest ways is right here on YouTube. You can check out the join button below the stream, which gets you access to the extended hours room where we continue from the morning room with a little bit less delay to the end of the session. YouTube members also have access to the community area where I post all kinds of different chart setups, stock charts, analytics, and more. And of course, every member gains access to our Discord chat server. Plus, you get the awesome badge next to your name here on YouTube to show your support. If you want to take a massive step further in understanding what it is that we are doing here every day in the room, look no further than the Day Trading Academy. This is where you can learn how we do everything. But listen, this isn't a small little PDF guide that you're going to finish in an afternoon. Yes, there is a quick start guide to get you going, but to really dig in like the Academy does, you're looking at about 19 plus hours of video course material. Along with the course, there's homework and study guides along the way to really make sure that you're understanding what's going on while you navigate the course, which I review personally, and you get the DTA upgrade discount too, which is awesome for when you're ready to upgrade to the final step, the final floor, the top floor, the executive suite, VIP. VIPs have permanent access to all that is SSFTG. The Day Trading Academy, private Discord chat, future updates, new strategies, monthly webinars, one-on-one access, everything else, it all comes as part of the package. VIPs gain access to the fully dedicated, non-delayed stream for the entire session as well, meaning that they are on the fastest connection you can get without any delays from start to finish. So whether you're here for the very first time or you're one of the VIP vets over on the dedicated stream, welcome. I'm glad to have you trading alongside of me today, analyzing these crazy markets of ours. Let's take a look at some charts, take a look at some markets, take a look at some news, see what's going on all today. Don't forget to grab your morning DP levels. Those are posted for you on the Major 7. NASDAQ, S&P, Gold, Crude, Euro, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. It's a race every time. As far as the news is concerned, there's a few things going on. There's definitely a few things going on. Good morning, Bram. Welcome. We've got the core retail sales that came out at 8:30 earlier this morning, and then we also have the 9:15 news, which is coming up here in about 10 minutes, industrial production. Beyond that, 10 o'clock has some news as well, nothing major, business inventories and retail inventories. Later, though, at 13:30, Fed Chair Powell will be testifying, and that is ranked as a big news announcement. I feel like it's a 50-50 shot. Sometimes it has a really big impact on the markets, and other times nothing happens. We'll see. At 15:45, FOMC member Kashkari is speaking, and then, of course, it's Tuesday, so at 16:30, API weekly crude oil stocks numbers are coming out to give us an idea of what to expect for tomorrow. All right, let's take a look at what's going on so far here across the board, starting off on the S&P. The S&P has had a, well, I mean, they finally started pulling back a little bit. That's the big thing that we've been kind of waiting for. We had that dip underneath the lows, this giant rally to the upside, but when is the market finally going to break loose and let go? And one of the big areas that we were kind of keeping an eye on was to see, is it going to slide all the way back down and grab that 44 quarter, or is it not? And I think it's fair to say it didn't. But if we narrow this in a little bit further to kind of see where it landed, that'll give us a better clue. All right, and here we can see that it didn't change anything. It stayed at 44 quarter. So as far as the overall finalized move to the upside, we've got a situation that seems kind of exhaustive a little bit. That giant rally all happening right at the end, and I say the end. The trend has been going on. What I mean by end is happening way over here after the trend has been perpetually going up for over a week, you know. The fact that we've got the strongest leg to the upside makes me think, well, wait a minute, when's the last time something like this happened? We have this leg to the upside, and yes, they missed the POC, so that is going to be seen as bullish. But at the same time, is this a repetition of something that's happened previously? Markets love their repetitions. Let's go back. None of these really fits, and then we've got, okay, well, we've got this one right here. This is pretty close. It's not perfect. It could be a little bit wider, but that could definitely count as a repetition. Let's go over here. Okay, well, now we're getting another one. Let's go over here. Now we're getting another one. All right, so we're starting to see something very, very common from the S&P in terms of these up moves. When they go quickly, they tend to be about that distance. That distance, just for reference point here, is about 1%, but that's different every time. So let me look at ticks. It's 179 ticks. And then the rally over here was 179, so about 179 ticks in terms of the overall move. And this last rally to the upside was 177. So, I mean, the fact that the normal rally seems to be about that much before it starts going sideways or potentially even pulling back a little bit further is a fairly big clue. And if we look at every time the market's made that move, it's been a big correction, usually down to a new low. So the fact that we've got this big rally to the upside, it kind of makes me think we should get a new low. And it lines up perfectly with grabbing 44 quarter. Perfect. So everything lines up exactly the way that we need it to in terms of, previous structure, historically, everything. It lines up perfectly with a dip buy down here in the quarters. If they get it. We'll see. Over on gold, we've got the continuation to the upside. They still haven't totally proven the V-bottom yet. All things considered, remember, proving a V-bottom requires a little bit more effort than what's going on right now. We need to break above the high of that move to really confirm. But we do have those higher lows and the continuation. I mean, it's doing everything that it needs to be doing as far as bullish continuation. The one thing that does stand out a lot of times when we have a hard time getting up to these completions is a quick slide down to take out all the stops on the base before finishing the rally all the way back up. And if that happens, that's usually where things go crazy. So, I mean, there is some definitive room for a downside slide, all the way down to a -2 if it were to happen all today. But, you know, all things considered, where we are, this is pretty lofty. I don't want to be a buyer way up here, too far up, especially considering where we are. And, you know, it's just, it feels a little bit awkward. I'd rather buy a little bit of a dip or something. Over on crude oil, we are seeing it feels like they were trying to get this to bottom, and maybe they still are. But they're having a heck of a time here. Let's go across to the volume and see where that's at. And therein lies the problem. Market tried rotating back up. They failed. Back underneath the POC. Market's working its way back down. I mean, as far as the objectives go, we can try and track what the market participants are trying to do. As far as I mean, that's about as obvious as that's about as obvious as you could ask for. I didn't even try to do that, but we've got the 3-to-1 objective, which was right here. I think it's safe to say that traders took a 3-to-1 exit. It's pretty obvious there. Let's look at the 2-to-1. Was there a response at the 2-to-1? Oh, hey, what do you know? Oh, that's weird. So we're seeing the sellers taking their profit on the way down. It doesn't have to make a new low. It's not a necessity. In fact, this low that happened over here completes a wedge bottom. It completes the 3-to-1 objective, and a higher low transition here would work out beautifully for a cycle to the downside as well, with 1, 2, well, 3, 4, 5, if you want to really kind of creep it across the side here. A little bit messy inside the middle, though. So there is a 5-legged cycle to the downside, and that might have something to do with it. Could also be a little bit wider in that this is still working on a 5th leg, because none of these are very clean and clear. It could be looking for something a bit more concise. Either way, the buyers are trying to come in, but we're not seeing any proof, and the sellers are still in control, although they have had targets met. So sell side is going to be maybe a bit more difficult. The next move to the downside on the euro is cycling back down. Now, this one, if I remember, where was the POC? Okay, so we did get the pullback to the POC. The buyers did show up off of that POC bounce. Let's do the litmus test, right? How from a minimum perspective, were scalpers given the objective? There we go. What is happening? Stop. There we go. All right. And so we have to ask ourselves, is this a trap? Did scalpers get their objective? Yes, they did. That was it. but the scalpers got their objective. So, I mean, from a realistic standpoint, can we say that this is a massive trap? I'm sure there are bulls that are still stuck on that pullback. Almost a guarantee. But from the minimum perspective, I cannot call this a trap because the scalpers have achieved their objectives. Now, going a little bit further in the way that this is rolling, the scalpers missed their objectives and were rolling, or the scalpers got their objectives, but everyone else missed. So if this does rotate back up, it's still on the table for a long. It's not off the table unless it breaks a new low. The low is the hard break point. If that breaks, it's game over. Now, this doesn't look great. They're definitely, I mean, they've got some problems, that's for sure, but they still have a shot. Could the gold situation also imply on Bitcoin that we had that slide nice recovery, but there's too much euphoria, so much stop run would be logical? Exactly. And that's kind of what I was talking about as well. If you were looking on, for you specifically, and any other members that are in here on the YouTube side of things, if you go into the communities page on YouTube, I was talking about how Bitcoin, actually this morning, how long ago was that? Let me look. It's about 3 hours ago, this morning on the YouTube communities page, I was talking about Bitcoin and how it's looking at the moment. Bitcoin in and of itself, with the cycle that it's got going on, kind of already has a 5-wave cycle on the daily, working its way up from the low. And, I mean, the way that it's standing, like we were talking about yesterday, there's still plenty of upside potential where the market could go rallying a lot further up and nail some big objectives. But we have to pay attention to the fact that they were hitting near-term targets right here at 45,700s all the way up to like 48s. This whole area is a big target area. It hasn't broken through it. If it does break through it, then the next area is going to be around 50,960, maybe 51,000 around there. And if it's able to make it through there, then 59,500. But again, that's still not all-time highs, and there's no necessity for them to break a new high. Kind of like we were just talking about on the euro for a low. So, you know, as far as the way that it's moving, I don't really expect it to. I don't expect it to break a new high. In fact, like we've been talking about for a long time, the normal pullback historically on Bitcoin is 60 and closer to like 70 to 80% before like 1,000% rally. The biggest pullback that we've had so far is about 55%. It just doesn't jive with what's happened historically. So I'm looking for this as a false rally to drive that euphoria, just to rip everyone's faces off for a slide back down to around 19,980, potentially down to 12,450. I still think there's juice on this current rally, but I just don't want to be caught holding any bags, you know what I mean? Now, if they break all-time highs, If it does go back up to all-time highs, it would invalidate the entire bias for the shorts, or like we were talking about on the communities page, the value buyers, depending on what lens you're looking through. So I think it's got a lot of major potential, but at the same time, there are some points that could cause it to trip. You know. All right. Now, looking at the NASDAQ in the way that the NASDAQ is forming, if we look at the daily chart, we can see, holy moly, we have our POC shift. Oh my goodness. This, I mean, it makes me a bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so we've got the POC shifting to the upside. We've got the double up in the POC value, which is where that area, the arrow is pointing. And now we're having a POC shift up to 15,112. The objective, if you remember, was 15,150. It made it up to 172.50. I've got some concerns. You know, if the bulls can't keep this going, a deeper pullback makes a lot more sense. And given this last bullish bar, if it breaks a new low, it's maybe game over. I guess it depends on how it does it. If it's a little trap and it goes screaming all the way back up, then maybe. But this pullback right here with 7.5 hours left is either going to be the last dip that bulls have to buy for a couple days, maybe even until the end of the week, or this is the beginning of a very large pullback that could start off with that average, typical 2.5, or what is it, 2.3% pullback style. There's a lot of reason to believe that this could come pulling back a little bit. And you remember where that last POC was back in the 13,900s. I don't remember the exact price, but 13,900s, give or take. That's just a little ways away from where we are right now. So kind of staring off the edge of a cliff a little bit here. But, well, could still reverse back up. Can't count them out yet. Looking at the 15-minute perspective and where we are from the bigger side of things, we were talking about a couple different points of interest from a long perspective on the dip yesterday. We did not find any support, none, at all, at around the 970s, which was the first zone of interest. Not a soul to be found for the buy side, but when we reached down to the to the 920s, they created a phenomenal reversal point, which we were talking about in the Discord chat room as well. But if you remember, we drew this arrow, or this line up yesterday. This is what we were looking for. Yeah, I mean, it did it exactly. We've got the higher low, we've got the transition up, and the continuation. Now, you'll notice the upside objective, I was initially looking for a 3-to-1, but I was gone. So by the time I had come back, I had realized that we were at about a 4-to-1, and I exited there just before it doubled up again. So, you know, this area was a major transfer of power down here. And yesterday we had a question come in on why am I looking long down here? Why do I keep looking for a long? And I believe, if I remember correctly, that question came in right about there. Why am I not going short? Why am I going long? Why are you looking short? This is what goes back to what we talk about a lot and what I had mentioned then. When we're completing major areas or when we're resting in major zones of interest, this is why I wasn't shorting. The only area to short was like back here, if you were okay with these little micro retraces. But this is why. And this is why I was looking long. Now you'll notice the long didn't take place until way later because you need that extra proof. But where are we? We're at that -2.5. Well, you remember the -2 has a 90+ probability that we're going to close above it by the end of the day, which was correct. If you go to a -2.5, now you're talking like 95% likelihood, like insanely high probability that the market closes above that by the end of the day. And it did, man, it did it. Holy crap, it closed all the way back up to settlement, basically. So as far as the roll back to the upside, that was a huge reversal off of the lows, and a lot of bulls are going to be looking to get into that dip. And notice where we are. We're back where a lot of traders were taking profit. Well, if we're back where a lot of traders were taking profit and they realize that they missed a double up rally, this is the spot where they're going to be looking to re-up into those positions if given a reason to. At the moment, they failed a new high above the top. And they held out of that red zone. I wasn't trading at that time. That was going right into the end of the day. So there's kind of a no show for me on that one. But as far as the rollback to the downside, if shorts were taking into that move, which obviously they were, it worked out beautifully. The question now is, what are they coming back for? Right? What are they sweeping this move back for? Did they miss something? Are they trying to reach back and grab something, etc.? So looking back on the NASDAQ, what could they be looking to come back for? If we're looking at the overall cycling that took place to the upside, which created that repetitious L2 and all that fun stuff, we had that 3 pressed leg to the downside. And very frequently when you get those 3 drives, in this case it happened 1, 2, 3, 4, and now maybe 5. It's happened very frequently. And what better spot to look for a reversal point than around the 14,960s? Again, that's where it's supposed to happen yesterday, but it didn't. The 14,960s would be a retest of that previous major zone of structural importance. That would also be the breakout retest failure, right? So there's a whole lot of interest to see if it wants to get into that area. If we're looking back on the impulse side of things, I would have thought that would have been on minute, but I guess not. Let's go all the way across. We've got the POC up at the top. We already know that. But on the initial impulse to the upside, the POC was back at around the 1575s. Now, the reason that's important, hopefully, is fairly obvious. But remember what an impulse is. An impulse POC, which is measuring from the bottom to the top. If you're not familiar with those, there's a whole video on the order flow and all that. But it's measuring how did the market respond. Right? When the market was screaming higher, what happened? And well, what happened was the market spent an incredibly small amount of time here at 1575, yet that was the largest volume traded out of the entire rally. Well, I have 2 different assumptions here. Either these are longs that are buying stupid late, right, incredibly late, or these are a transition of power where sellers are finally just cutting the cord and saying, good enough, I'm out, get me out of this thing, I can't take it anymore. Or that's the position area where traders are starting to build in if they were stuck down here, because very obviously they got stuck down there pretty hard. So this is going to be a major turning point. And when the market returned to it, it kind of chopped through it and then jumped back up, and then it started getting interesting. Major support, major support, major support. Chop through it a little bit, chop through it a little bit, major support, like to the tick off of that impulse POC. So there's a lot of things that are leveling around this 900 that are saying this is where the bulls are trying to come in, but they are willing to buy all the way down to 14,810s, 820s or so. It's a big zone down here. Now, as we creep this a little bit further forward, after they made another new high, we can see that the POC shifted a little bit further up, and the market tried going higher, failed the new high. Think about it from the perspective of the bulls, right? This is their POC. If this was their average... Actually, hold on. Before I get lost down that rabbit hole, let me go back to this one real quick. I want to see, did the scalpers get their target? Just out of sheer morbid curiosity, did scalpers get a target? Way up in the stratosphere. That's the top. That's the high. That's what all of this crap is. It's the scalpers' targets. The ones who took this horrendous entry way over here. Buying way up at the top, reversing out of shorts, going long. They still got the scalp target. Unfreaking believable. Now, if we're looking at this from that perspective, we're coming back to the break-even point and we're making successive lower highs. If this does churn underneath this is no longer a buy zone. I know this is a major area of support, but put this in context. Scalpers got their target, missed their target. They're showing you, oh crap, I should have taken my target. When it comes back, I'm not going to miss it again. They start selling out. Oh crap, I didn't get all of them out. When it comes back, I'm not going to miss it again. And then they exit everything else and it makes a lower high. They're dumping, right? They're soaking into this high like it's going out of style right now. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not buying up the bottom like it's going out of style too. But this is a definitive range, and the fact that we are right planted in the middle of it, well, I feel like we might need to be a little cautious, just a little bit. Major zone of support is going to be a little bit further down. From the 15-minute perspective, you know, I mean, 970s maybe. We'll see what they want to do, but yikes, yikes, yikes. Now, this could also be the completion of a 5-wave corrective pattern, which we've got marked up here. Completed at 2-1. Did they actually finish off the 3-8? Oh, man, they went to 3-6. Good enough. Good enough. So, fib rotation all the way to the downside. Big cycle back to the upside. Didn't make a new high. That's the important factor. So, if we see something like this where it does break a new high, then maybe we have another impulse to the upside. Another trapped POC on the daily, and we're going up to the stratosphere. But in 4 minutes time here, with the open around the corner, we are opening up in a major buy zone. Right, this is the area from yesterday where all of the traders were taking profit at 3-to-1s, 4-to-1s, all the way up. Measure them out. Now, I was looking at actual risk, but if you go all the way down to the bottom, some 3-to-1s were as high as 15,057. Now, what's interesting is when the market comes back to that, we can track. Are they actually buying these? Oh, they are. Well, what do you know? So we can see that they are buying these zones. The next area would be a 2-to-1 off of the widest. And hey, that's weird. I wonder what are the odds that lines up perfectly? What are the odds? I don't believe in coincidences. This is why. Still very early. We don't have any proof that the bulls have come in yet, and the market is still getting absolutely obliterated to the downside. But from a swing perspective, we are in a major buy zone if they give us some proof. We'll see what they can do. Alright, here we hover. Market's still working its way lower. We are sitting at a -1.5. Has some pretty good probabilities for the upside here. 928 has already hit. That is out of the way. Let's see what we got. What about the cryptos? Oh, yeah, sorry. I did see your message on Discord. This whole week has been an absolute train wreck. I know you guys understand, but I keep saying like I can help it. But the BCH price, as far as BCH goes, I mean, the big thing that kind of stands out, and I don't want to take up the whole chart here, but if we go BCH USDT, give me that Binance. One of the things that I absolutely love about BCH is that we've kind of transitioned underneath the lows and made an incredibly strong rally up in a fashion that is inducive of simply just a wave 1. They don't even have wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5 yet. Like, none of it. So the fact that we've transitioned above the POC all in one after a new low, that looks great. Like higher low pullback continuation style. It's looking pretty strong. BCH, honestly, may be a halfway decent shelter market if there is a deeper pullback on the wider spectrum on like Bitcoin and such. Other shelter markets would be the interest rate coins, because a lot of traders love putting their coins there while they're waiting, like Nexo, Crow, Binance even, any of them that pay interest. But BCH looks pretty strong. Any pullback area would be back to the 500s for sure. And as far as the more recent rally, that POC is up at 550s. All right, Jumbotron slide to the downside. Nice power move lower. We are at the open, looking at the S&P. We are opening with an inside gap down. Go figure. Sellers continuing the slide to the downside. We are now down to a -2. We are also nearing that major completion point in the 968s, 970s. This is a big, big zone. Sellers are very obviously in control. As far as a measured move perspective to the downside goes, this has gone beyond that already. Sellers firmly still driving this to the downside. Major zone of interest is back in those 50s. We've broken through that buy zone. That's gone. The -2.5 is at 14,947. The -3 is at 909.75. A little bit of bullish transition going on, but with this amount of bearish momentum, fairly obvious sellers are at least in control for a wave 1, wave 2. I think we're still on wave 3 waiting for 4 or 5. 2, I mean, it was pretty gross inside there, but it was pretty quick and clean. So 4 might be a bit of a mess. So this is more what I'm waiting for at the moment. Sellers are continuing to the downside. They're trying. As far as the cycle goes, although we do have to use a bit of yesterday, we've got an L2 transition into an L1. That's about it. Pretty straightforward there. Nice correction phase back to the upside. I still do believe that this is in a correction phase. I'm going to look for a continuation to the downside off of that transition of power right there. Not necessarily looking all the way out at a 3-to-1. I like it down in this area, actually. That's just where I had the tool. The reason I like it in this area more than down at the low is because, again, we are cycling off of some major zones. I've got to be very careful being short for too long. We're in a major zone of support and we're bouncing. So I'm okay with the shorts. That's fine. I've just got to be careful. Got to wait for the right places. We're also chopping around the 15,000 area, which is not going to help anything. Nice little sell bar there, but immediately trapped. Big pulse to the upside. This is why you got to be careful down here. I don't like messing with these areas for too long. This is why. We've got that first 5-minute POC on the S&P, 44.43 quarter. Oops. As far as the NASDAQ is concerned, 15,000. What a shock. Who would have thought POC ended up at 15,000? Nice extra continuation phase back to the upside. Just out of curiosity, we've got the L2 into the L1. A lot of traders were trying to hold the L1. I was one of them. I wasn't holding on for the full move down, though, and now we're back to the L2. So as far as a repetitious standpoint goes, L2 sellers will be in here trying to get this to transition down. It would be awesome if it wasn't down 2 DPs already, but, you know. Can't win them all, I guess. We have an L3 hold off of the lows and a continuation up. Buyers, if they're going to hold this continuation, should hold the L1, and if they fail, that'll be the bigger clue. Looks like they have a 5-wave cycle to the upside already, though. At least a little bit cleaner. Not considered an impulse, though. Nice cycle to the downside. Bulls picking it back up, though. Look at these strong bear bars, and they keep failing. I'm going to have to see some proof here. I still think we go down for another leg. I still think we're on wave 4, looking for 5, and expecting wave 4 to be a mess makes sense, given that wave 2 was nice and clean. Very heavy sell bar. Is this one a trap? Sellers are attempting to try to get it to break back down. They had a nice bear bar, but I mean, not really any follow through still. I'm going to look for a continuation back down on that. That push back to the downside is where sellers are going to have the chance to try to take it back. The shot here, there we go. Beautiful slide back to the downside. Jeez, oh Pete. I wasn't expecting it to go that fast, but that's that transition point. The reason that area is so important more than anywhere else, holy crap. I was only able to get one. I should have known. Is that was the transition where everything changed. It was bear trap. It was bear trap. It was bear trap. It was bear trap. Bear trap. Bear trap. Bull trap. Game over. Like, oh crap! And what do you want to bet? The POC's right around there. Transitions of power. Oh, 15,000 still, huh? It might be kind of hard to get that off the 15,000s. Oh no, see, there was a POC there. Right there. That's the transition. And once again, right back to 15,000 and the POC's back again. Market's still trying to cycle around here. Haven't really done much past the first 5 minutes. Looking at the first 15 on the S&P, we had a really strong bull start, POC staying underneath it. Looks like bulls were trying to get some continuation to the upside. If we look at this from a scalper's perspective, their targets would have been 0.5 to 1, which they were able to achieve. Right, one tick underneath it to the POC. Scalper's objective is right there. The 1-to-1 target's a little further. 2-to-1 is above that. They've got some work to do, but it's still looking relatively bullish. Market's cycling back a little bit further now. Every seller on the planet that sold that basically got their targets, which is why it's reversing so quickly. It dropped fast. The only ones that didn't get hit would be a 3-to-1 to the downside. It hit a 2.5 to 1. Not quite the 3-to-1. This thing is having a heck of a time. Great day so far, though. Solid moves. Look at the reversal off the lows now. I mean, you blink and it's gone. Remember at a couple minutes ago, this was a big bear bar? Yeah, I thought it was too. That also is another reason why, and why I talk about this all the time, I wait for candles to close first. Because that candle looked way different 2-3 minutes ago. Market just kind of herp derping around, not really doing a whole lot of anything. POC's probably still back at 15, right? Yeah. Now, just out of curiosity, from the top to the bottom, the impulse POC is probably going to be up here, right? Yeah, 78. So the zone of interest for the bulls, if they can make it up, is going to be in the 78s. And here we sit once again. Starting to pull off those tops a little bit. .5 so far. Bulls are really trying to hold on to this continuation to the upside. They can't let it slip or they're going to be running into problems. They do make a new high. They're trying. Still not really much, though. Grindy. First 15 minutes is technically up on the S&P, but not without a fight, that's for sure. Bull's still just hovering. Got 12 minutes until 10 o'clock, top of the hour. Still not really much happening yet. Market's just kind of trying to pull back, and it's trying to figure out if it wants to build a top or if it wants to get the bulls to go. Definitely feels like a bit of a fist fight going on up here. The bulls seem incredibly strong around these 31s, though. Still feels like they're riding the struggle bus, though. Jeez. I'll take that L1, thank you very much. Yeah, exactly. Nice pullback coming off the top. There was no shift in the POC. Ooh. Starting to slide back to the 15,000s. Starting to get pretty sensitive around here. Alright. Just kind of hovering. Diving back down. This is a major zone of interest for longs to try to grab like this last ditch. I want to see how this sticks down here. Remember, the anticipation is still down to a new low. $10 right around the corner. Big heavy bear bar. And immediately twin reverses back up. Great. Jeez, this is getting nasty down here. It's almost like a little microscopic wedge down here. Right on top of the -2. Bulls attempting to get some continuation or get something going. Or fail, which is what that bear bar potentially says. I'm going to look for the continuation to the downside on the Bulls' failure. Looking for this to just be a quick pulse to the downside. It's doubtable that they're going to stick around for very long. With this perpetual downward motion, at least, it makes for a really nice scalp. It's selling incredibly low, but for a quick 10 ticks, the probability's high enough to make it worthwhile. Alright, market makes it down to a new low again after a quick little vindictive pulse down. Typical for traders who get greedy on downside scalps like that. You got to realize there's not much built into those. It's a quick scalp. POC shifting down on the S&P now at 41.25. And they have completed a new cycle low. They made a new low. So job done. Man, they did it all in one shot. They didn't give me a chance to get in. I was trying to sell before, couldn't get the actual move, selling after. A vindictive thing. Jeez. More continuation down, now reaching out to the -2.5, also completing the 5-wave cycle to the downside. See what the market wants to do here. On the daily chart, we still have not broken below the previous low of day. That's a ways to go yet. And interestingly, we are also back to right around the area where the longs bought yesterday. Remember, these zones are major zones for traders to re-up into previous longs, previous entries, etc. And even over here, you can see if buyers tried rebuying into it, they exited it when they were proven wrong. If they were trying to rebuy into and it slid all the way back down here, they were given a chance to maybe even buy more and exit everything up at the original entry point. Either way, now that we're now down to another new low, there will be 100% more buyers down here. And we have a completion of a 5-wave cycle. They're looking for this to cycle back up. Now, if we start chopping through, we'd really have to break the lows. I mean, that's the only point that it really shuts it down. Until then, I still think it's longs. Down here. Now that we've completed the structure. Now that we've completed what they need to do. Got a couple minutes until 10 o'clock. Feel free to get those last questions in. We'll get those covered for you. Looking good, looking good. Holy crap, look at the volume that just plotted on the... Was that volume or was that a line? Oh. Oh, that was a DP level. I thought the color of it looked like it was a volume part of the order flow. Never mind. It just fits so perfectly to the tick. 1.5 DPs down. Disregard the background noise. Sorry, the kids are home with me today, so I'm trying to keep them occupied with YouTube. Alright. They're trying to get the cycle to the downside. Now, like we've been talking about, we're in a major zone of interest from the longer-term perspective. A lot of traders are going to be looking to re-up in this zone, and swings are starting to tip back to the upside for now. Yeah, that last wave was real clean. But the thing, when I'm talking about clean, I mean, although, yes, the last portion of the leg was really clean. When I'm talking about the differences of, like, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, when wave 2 is messy, what I mean by that is if you're going down, it typically, thanks, alarm clock, it's going to make a lot of inside higher highs. And these are the trappy inside BS type moves that you're looking for. So when I say it's messy, that's more what I mean. And we can kind of see this did the same thing, but it was I mean, way spread out. And given how narrow that pullback, I mean, basically the 3.8, right? I still have to assume that this was pretty much straightforward, easy peasy wave 2, meaning that wave 4 should be gross usually. Doesn't have to be, but in this case it was gross up to here. And then it was real obvious. Can't win them every time. Major point of interest on the way back here. Took out the lows. A lot of stops for buyers trying to buy too early, etc. Remember, just like we were talking about yesterday in the chat room, I'm not interested in trying to be the first one to the party here. Not unless I've got a really good reason to be. I'd rather buy later. Let the market do its thing first. And again, the only reason I'm interested in buying is because we're in a major buy zone down here. If this breaks, different story. I can't sell anymore because now we're too far down. And we've completed a 5-wave cycle to the downside. Doesn't mean the 5-wave can't keep going. Previous confirmed POC, what a shock, landed back at 15,000. All right. Couple minutes after 10 o'clock, not seeing any other questions coming in, so that's going to do it for the morning session. Now we can transition over into the extended session, see if we can find a bottom on this thing, and maybe rotate it up for the rest of the day. We'll see. If I missed any questions, though, feel free on the YouTube side to drop them in the comments below, or if they require a little bit more response, you can always shoot them to me via email. Remember, this week is a real mess on this side of things for me, so it might take me a little bit longer to get back to you. Don't forget as well that the room will be closed tomorrow. I'm going to be gone all day helping out, so that's keep that in mind. Tomorrow we'll be gone. We'll be back on Thursday just like normal, and then hopefully next week when kids are back in school and everything, we can get back to a normal schedule. Jeez. Anyway, though, enjoy the rest of the day. I hope you had a great day of trading so far. For the rest of you hanging out in the extended session, just chill for a second and we'll swap over, right? And for the rest of you, if you're taking off, have a good one. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow, right? Talk to y'all later. Thanks.